Inner resistance is the silent force that tries to prevent the being from passing through its own expansion. It does not come from the world or from external circumstances. It is born within consciousness as a self-protection mechanism that, while attempting to preserve the known, ends up blocking growth. Inner resistance is the guardian of the past. It tries to keep the being where it is, even when it no longer fits there. This resistance first manifests itself as doubt. The rare being in formation begins to question whether its perception is real, whether its restlessness makes sense, whether its passage is necessary. Doubt is not an enemy, it is a sign that consciousness is moving. But, if it is not understood, it becomes a break, hesitation, paralysis. Another form of resistance is attachment to the familiar. The expansion of consciousness requires abandoning old structures, comfortable identities, inherited beliefs. The being feels afraid of losing what it knows, even when what it knows no longer sustains it. It tries to keep the old, while walking toward the new. And this attempt fragments it. Attachment is resistance disguised as security. There is also resistance that arises as emotional self-defense. Upon realizing that the passage requires confronting shadows, pain, and vulnerabilities, the being tries to avoid this encounter. It rationalizes, minimizes, escapes. Resistance creates inner narratives that justify stagnation. It protects the ego, but prevents lucidity. Another danger is the idealization of one's own passage. The being begins to imagine that it is already beyond, that it has already understood everything, that it has already overcome its limitations. This idealization is a subtle form of resistance. It prevents deepening by creating the illusion that there is nothing left to transform. It is resistance disguised as progress. Finally, there is resistance that manifests as psychological fatigue. Expansion requires energy, discipline, courage. At certain moments, the being feels like giving up, returning to the comfort of multiplicity, abandoning the path. This fatigue is natural, but if it is not recognized, it becomes surrender. Inner resistance is not the enemy of rarity. It is part of the passage. It reveals where the being is still trapped, where it still fears, where it still needs to grow stronger. By recognizing this resistance, the rare learns to move through it consciously, transforming each inner obstacle into a step toward expansion.